Hi, I'm Mike, and today I want to talk about forgiveness. This is a very difficult subject, and I battle with this myself, and I'm still battling with it. And today is more of a discussion than really a lot of advice. How do we forgive? If you're religious and you believe in Christ, you know that He forgave those who killed Him. And that's pretty powerful. And when I look at that, I try to look at my own life, and I'm like, how do I forgive someone who's hurt me so badly, and yet in this situation, they killed him and He forgave them? Or former President Ronald Reagan, when he got shot, this person was aiming to kill him, yet in the hospital, President Reagan forgave his shooter. The same thing with Pope John Paul. He forgave his shooter. So what makes us any different? What makes us any more special? Why can't we do the same? In 2012, my 22-year friendship to my best friend ended because of his selfish act. What he did deeply changed my life, and in a really bad way. For 22 years, he was basically my brother. We had a lot in common, and he was there during all of my worst moments, all of the bad things that had happened to me. He recognized those things. He saw them with his own eyes. And he knew my struggles, and he knew my family's struggles, and he knew my family. And yet, in order to save his own ass from losing a job that he got because of me, because I convinced my boss to hire him, he was willing to destroy me and the friendship in order to save his own job. And here's the thing about that. He had a career before this job. He was a diesel technician. And he had the opportunity to go work at another company who would have hired him doing that same kind of work. So he had an option where I didn't have that option. I didn't have another place to go if I lost my job. So, because he didn't want to go back into that career, he was willing to stick me out there and let me be destroyed in order to save himself. At the end of the day, I didn't have a job anymore. I no longer had my friend, and I was struggling to survive. My hot water heater went, so I no longer had hot water in my house. I could not run my heater because it was too costly in electricity. I could not afford to pay the electric bill, so I was using wood, and I ran out of wood in the middle of winter. I was barely able to pay my mortgage bill, and now I had no job to actually pay it. And eventually I reached a point where I was only eating one meal a day because that's all I could afford to buy. And all of these problems, the misery I've gone through, the depression I went through, all went back to that one person who I had known for 22 years, which is most of my life, and who I considered to be my best friend, my brother, all because of what he did to me. And the big question now is, how do I forgive him? Here's how I dealt with it. I personally never want to speak to him again. And he never made any attempts to speak to me. He never tried to apologize. He never checked on me to see, if the results of his actions have hurt me. He just let it happen and walked away. I had too much anger and hatred and, all of these mixed emotions because of what he did, and I was letting it rule my life. And I wasn't just angry with him, I was angry at my boss as well, because he had betrayed me. A week before he fired me, we had a meeting, and he had a personal conversation with me, and seemed to understand everything that I was going through and everything, and I thought that he had my back. But yet, he was willing to get rid of me, even though he knew the struggles I was going through. And, that really weighed on me. But I had to kind of step back and look at this and make a decision, because I couldn't let my anger for these two rule my life. So I had to figure out how to forgive them. Now, I didn't want to speak to either of them ever again, so I did not do that. But what I did do was I had to come to terms in myself, with me, and learn to forgive them and then move on. And it doesn't mean that I forget what they did. It doesn't mean that I'm, at peace with them in a way where it's like, I want to go hang out and have a drink with either of them. I don't. But what I have done is I let it all go. I don't let that anger bother me anymore. I don't have this hatred anymore. They did what they did, and maybe, they're paying the price for what they did. Maybe that's how God works. It's not up to me to decide what happens to them. It's up to Him. For me, I need to focus on my own life, my future, the things that I do have. And I need to try to enjoy life without letting other people bother me. If you need to forgive someone, then that's what you do. Just do it. Whether, if it's someone who's really important to you and you can't forgive them but you want to know them, you go and make that effort. But if you're in my situation, learn to forgive them and then just move on. Don't let it bother you anymore. Don't think about the past anymore. Don't think about hatreds anymore. Let it go. Let it all go. I can tell you that when you do that, your life's going to be better. It just will. If you've been in this situation before, it stays with you on your mind all the time. And no matter what you do, it's there. But once you let it go, and you really truly believe it's gone, and you truly forgive those who have wronged you, you're going to be so much better. I can tell you that because I think I'm the best example. So I hope that helped you, and I will see you next time.